Thank you. So this is a policy set, just one today, policy session, Measure 110, advisory ballot question. One more check-in with you, commissioners, if you want to move forward or not. County Council's team will present. I guess it's Jeff Munns, Assistant County Counsel, will present. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Yes, we are back to talk about your advisory question that you've have completed the forms to place on the ballot to repeal Measure 110 as part of the language, and as well as, focus on decriminalizing legal drugs. So, of course, House Bill 4002 was passed by both the Oregon House and Senate, and the governor has on her website that she will be signing that bill, and that effectively recriminalizes or criminalizes possession of those hard drugs. It creates a new misdemeanor, effectively a Class B misdemeanor, with a potential jail time up to 6 months, as well as other parts of that program. So that is what the legislature has passed, and what the governor indicates that she will sign. That does create a bit of a confusion with the question that you had referred to the ballot, because that focuses on repealing Measure 110 concerning the provisions of decriminalizing possession of the drugs. What the legislature has done is reverse that. Not the entire Measure 110, of course, but the effective provisions that are in your question, I think, have been changed. And so where we're at now is, do you want to still move forward with this question, despite some of those concerns, or would you want to pull it? Because we can no longer revise the language at this point. We're past the time for that. So happy to answer any questions about what your legal options are, as well as, I guess, other options with this process, but really it's kind of go forward or pull it at this point.
Well, thank you for that. We probably will have to pull it, which today I'm fine with that. So commissioners just know, if we don't think this is going to work, we can opt out by September 1st of this year. Also, if the promised revenues don't come in, our acceptance of Clackamas County and most of the counties was, we will perform providing we have the revenues to do this. And there is an assigned amount of revenues for this. The question comes then, will there be any fixes in the 2025 session on this particular item? I did talk with the governor on that. I said, Governor, I assume you're going to sign this. And she has not signed it yet, has she?
She's not yet. I checked before it came up.
Because she's giving us instructions. So that's not something a governor legally can do. Once a bill goes to her desk, she either signs it or vetoes it. She does not have the legal authority to amend it. However, she is not going to sign it, and she has maybe a little bit of time here, until she tells the counties what she expects out of this. Well, that's not what the intent of the law is. So we bargained in good faith with our district attorneys, the State District Attorneys Association, the State Chiefs of Police, and the State Sheriff's Association. And they bargained hard, and they were diligent. And our district attorney tells us, with the programs that we have in place, for instance, LEAD is one of them, that he thinks that we can really operate this fairly well, and that the money that we're getting could buy up to 3 FTE, probably 2 at the DA's office and 1 in H3S to help with this program. And our district attorney also told me, he says, there is what the law says and the philosophy that surrounds that, and then he says to me, then there's the reality of how the law works. And the reality of how the law works is that the people with 2 strikes, and then you go into a possible law enforcement situation, the 2 strikes go fairly fast. And that's what he relayed to me the best I can tell. So there's commissioners have their hands up. Commissioner Savas, you're up first.
Yeah, I'll just make the motion and we can discuss it, but I move that we withdraw the question from the May ballot, May 2024 ballot.
Okay. Commissioner Savas has made a motion, approval of election form 804, withdraw notice of measure election. Is there a second?
I'll second that for the sake of discussion, because I do have some questions I wanted to ask.
Okay. There is a motion and it has been seconded. Commissioner Schrader.
So I just wanted to get some details for the public here that we haven't rescinded it, we have fixed it. What are some of the things that are still left in that bill? Why would people want to rescind the entire bill? because it looks as if it does give us a revenue stream. And what we really wanted to see happen is that integration between public safety, being at the table for diversion, or I guess now they're calling it deflection, as well as kind of viewing it as a public health problem. So can you help me with what did the bill actually do? What is still left?
Yeah,
Is
the
it-
major portion of this bill, what it does, it changed the provisions of Measure 110 that created the possession, where the possession of these drugs would result in a violation.
Okay.
Sorry. So it's no longer a violation, it's a misdemeanor. And it's a new class of misdemeanor that the legislature created with this bill. It's similar to a Class B misdemeanor, but it has those additional provisions you mentioned, like deflection, the way those programs work. So the remainder of Measure 110, like you said, the revenue stream remains intact to help bolster these programs we're talking about, to have the public health component along with the law enforcement. So now it gives law enforcement some of the tools back to have a penalty that they can prosecute and, have higher stakes. There's a greater stick, not just the carrot. So that's much of what the legislature did with this.
Okay, thank you for that. I think the fix has been appropriate. What I essentially am hearing, it is actually going to give us a revenue stream to help with any deflection program. And we have had a history of drug courts in this county that have been extremely successful in getting people, and I know that many of us have actually attended drug court graduations, because our judges have been, and our public safety folks, they do want to see it as helping people get clean and sober, and not just languish in jail. And so this seems to be for me, it seems to be a good fix. So there we go.
Commissioner Schul.
Yes. So the legislature took action to modify Measure 110. So we have the months of April, May, June, July, and August to observe the effects of that change. Then, along about August, if we see it is not doing what we hoped it would do, and we still have the problems on our streets that we observe, then we can come back, look at doing an SEL 801 to put it back on the ballot in November, as long as we act before 1 September. Is that correct?
If you wanted to place another advisory measure on the ballot, I imagine we'd have several of these discussions about what that language would be. It'd probably be different than what you proposed at this point. But yes, we would come back, but we missed this primary, yes. So we would, if you do 804 now, it pulls this question for the primary. But if you wanted to place a new question or this question, you would then do, the first step is 805, but you would go through that same process we've done to put a different question on the ballot, or whatever other measures you want to take to confront the issues that we're seeing that haven't been solved by this new bill.
So, bottom line is, if we are not seeing real change on the streets, then by whatever month, June maybe, then we need to come back here and look at taking this action to repeal Measure 110.
I imagine it's a question we're all going to be looking at in our communities. So yes, as these issues come up, anywhere our office can help with putting a question on the ballot or whether measures you think are appropriate, we'll be having that conversation.
Okay, thanks.
What's our deadline for that?
For that one, for the November election, similar to this one, you're about 2 months ahead. So yes, we'd be talking about, September. So if it's something you wanted to do, we'd revisit over the summer, probably in July or August, with potential language so that you could be ready.
Let's talk about appropriations amendment from the legislature. The governor's yet to sign it, so the appropriations process has not begun because it's not law. I would hope they would be anticipating that. So how long do you think it'll take for the counties to get money so we can implement this?
It's going to have a lag, for
There's
sure.
gonna be a lag, of
Yeah,
course.
of course there's going to be a lag. I wouldn't speculate as to exactly when we're going to start to receive this money, but it's not going to be for the next couple of months, and we're already in,
So we may not
March.
get money
We
to
may
do
not
this
know.
until July.
right? We may not really know at that point, but you're going to start seeing have some idea of what those funds are going to be as far as the amounts, and have some input from the DA. You're going to get some potential input from our other folks at H3S as far as what they can do with that money. That will be some useful feedback, of course, to get some perspective, what can we actually do? So once you have that, you can kind of see where that leads to the next decision that's maybe helpful with this process. But if it's a disappointing amount, you might have one path. If it's something else, we can adjust accordingly.
Gary, I'm wondering if Trent is here. Can you answer my question, Trent, about appropriations? Come on up, please. Gary, my question would be if staff should reach out to the DA and see what his thinking is on when we will receive money and how long it would take Clackamas County to start working on what the legislature passed. I think that's a really valid question.
Yes.
Trent, did you understand my question?
Yes, thank you, Trent Wilson, Interim Government Affairs Manager. Thanks for having me today. So the bill's kind of unique, where the provision of the misdemeanor will not begin until September 1st. And we have between now and September 1st to build the program that the county could build on its own. It's a local program that will be designed by the county behavioral health team, the district attorney team, law enforcement providers within the county. The money is set up so that for the DA's office, 50% of what will be allocated to Clackamas County will come in the next couple of months. Probably as soon as the governor signs the bill. What we've heard is that there will be a process starting in April, which is just 2 weeks away, a process starting in April that will get that money out the door as quick as they can to those counties that have already signed on to that letter of commitment to participate in this program. They will receive 50% of the funding then, and then after that initial allocation goes out, there will then be a grant program to apply for the remainder 50% of what you're trying to set up.
Okay, the money that has been passed, is that a yearly sum?
The money that has been allocated is only good through the rest of the biennium, so it will only go until the end of
So
June
it's subject
2025.
to the legislature repassing and re-upping allocations to counties.
Correct, and they're trying to put the dollars within a system that it's part of a reoccurring allocation process, something that would be, within annual budgets. Something has to be reconsidered, it has to be voted on every biennium, but yes, that's.
So when Clackamas County agreed to this, we said, Commissioner Schrader and I said, subject to funding. And that's very important because this could very easily look like another partially funded mandate coming down the chute that would be very expensive. So we probably will have to go back to the legislature in 2025 to make sure that they keep their word. Any other questions?
Yep.
Yep, go.
So, on those very words, Chair, keep their word. So I just want to play the history back a little bit. 8 years ago or so, the effort to legalize marijuana, part of it was predicated on those dollars. The revenue would go towards drug treatment. And that bucket of money obviously is a certain size, and then that money after the fact, hold them to their word, got diverted, and suddenly there's less. So Measure 110 comes along, and part of 110 that I think a lot of people liked, and some people that liked it also didn't realize it was already supposedly committed to drug treatment, but it wasn't. That money was approved, that money in part of 110 was, as it passed, was kind of locked in. So, and here we are again talking about money and funding. So my assumption, and I'll ask staff to correct me if I'm incorrect, my assumption is that they're talking about the same bucket of money that was really the marijuana money originally, and now divvying it out based on legislative direction or taking the temperature. My question is that bucket of money, the marijuana money, which is being funded, which is now 110 money, is that amount of money going to be just diminished and allocated elsewhere? Or is it all going to stay in the bucket for drug treatment as originally intended 8 years ago?
Do you know?
I do not know. I can
Yeah.
look into that.
I mean, as it develops, over the next few months, as this program rolls out and the crime kind of gets Trent mentioned, our district attorney has a chance to come put this together, we'll have a better idea, how it's going to work, and we can come back to you with kind of report on what we were looking at for the funding going forward. So I know Trent will be working on that on the Salem and so on, but we can take a look at that as far as other options for you to consider as well.
My point is this, and maybe it's not all about 110 and the marijuana money. My point is that, we go to the voters, or our legislator takes action, and they base their decision on all these factors, and then the rug gets pulled out from under us afterwards. And whether that's a formation of a district, where they don't live up to what they're promised, or that's formation of a bond, and they don't fully live up to that bond, or, it's HB 2017 and they don't live up to the projects spelled out, or the transit features that were promised in the legislative intent, is unwound. So it's hard for me to have after all these years of watching this play out, to have confidence that anything is certain. Anything. Even if the voters pass it in a bill, it's not certain.
Commissioner Savas, I would agree 100%, absolute 100%. So we just have to be a voice to go forward to make sure that we're able to do it. Just a quick note, Commissioners, you have in your email the article I referred to, Metro's plan to expand its housing division, sent from Emily Klepper, and that might help you.
Already read it.
Call for the vote?
Oh, yes, we have a motion on the table.
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Any
That is
other
all for today.
discussion? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.